Hello, and welcome to the Built to Be Human podcast, brought to you by the Functional Living Academy. I'm your guide and host, Liam Gallagher. So, this week I'm going to talk about the fact that nobody knows your body as well as you, and I'm going to give you some ideas on how to become your own health advocate. It's something I've been doing for years, so I find this very important. Um, it seems that nowadays the medical industry, maybe not currently, but over the past, 15 or so years, 20 years, whatever it's been, possibly even longer, has wanted us to believe that they know our bodies better than we do. And this isn't the case whatsoever. I know that I'm the only person that spends 24 hours a day, every day of my life, in my own body. I'm aware of all kinds of things, everything from digestive issues to stress issues. We've kind of been taught to ignore a lot of these things, and what it really is it's signs, it's information that our body's giving us about what our experience is, so that we can do something about it. Now, in modern times, we're taught that if you have something going on, if it's mild or moderate, to just ignore it and kind of push through it. For example, if you're tired and you've got something to accomplish, push through the being tired, take some caffeine, take some sort of stimulant, take Adderall even, and go about your business. So we're really taught to ignore the subtle and basic information and basic signals that our body is giving us. Um, Having spent the last 33 or so years as a type 1 diabetic, I can tell you that I pay attention to things in my body that I notice other people around me not being aware of. Now, of course, some of this has been my own medical experience and being told that I had to pay more attention to it. And some of it was just the experience of having the illness itself and going through um, everything that comes with it. I learned very young in my life that the more I paid attention to what my body was telling me, the better my medical and health experience was. Of course, this translated into all kinds of areas of my life. So when I first began, in my early childhood, I'd go to the doctor's office, taken by my mother or my father, and I would be told what was going on with my body. And I just kind of accepted that. And I'm pretty sure we all have that as early experiences in our life. But as I got older, the medical recommendations that was given weren't always very appropriate to what I was actually dealing with. And the doctors that I had at that time weren't really all that willing to listen to me or allow me to have input with what my medical experience would be. So at this point in my life, of course, all of that has changed. I've been into nutrition and alternative medicine and herbs and natural processes for over 30 years now, just about as long as I've been a type 1 diabetic, as a matter of fact. And at this point, when I go to a doctor's office or I'm seeking some sort of medical help from any sort of medical professional in any sort of capacity, I no longer go in waiting for them to tell me what is going on with me. I typically go in with at least a basic idea of what's going on, whether that's I'm having blood pressure issues, whether that's I'm having a headache, whether I'm dealing with muscle spasms, whatever it is. I basically have an understanding already of what my experience is. Now, I might go to the doctor and get checked out just to either verify what I'm thinking is going on, or else to rule out something more severe, more extreme. So at this point, if I do get a new diagnosis of any sort, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago now, I was given a stenosis diagnosis in my spine. And at that point, instead of asking about medications, instead of asking what my prognosis was, I started to ask questions about what stenosis was and what would I be looking at in terms of physicality. Were there things that I could do throughout my daily routine that I could help strengthen that area and therefore alleviate or at least reduce the amount of issues I have as a result of the diagnosis. So it used to be I'd go to the doctor, they'd give me a diagnosis, and they would prescribe something to me. That's not how it happens anymore. I'll get a diagnosis. I will talk to the doctor about what that diagnosis means, why they feel that I have it. Doctors do make mistakes. And I find out as much information about it as possible so that going forward, I can have as much of an understanding, and can start interpreting what the signs that my body is giving me through the new information that I've been given. So with the stenosis specifically, there are stretches that I do on a daily basis, especially during a flare up. All the core stabilization stuff, planks and V-sits and bicycle and all that stuff, everything to help build the core absolutely helps reduce stenosis flare-ups for me. So again, I'm being proactive. I'm being my own health advocate. I'm not allowing things to get to a point where I'm stuck going to the hospital because I'm in so much pain that I can't walk, and now I need some sort of medication so that I can relax enough to get past it. I do everything in my power to advocate for myself and to be proactive so I can alleviate those situations. When I use herbs, I'm not always using herbs as a treatment of a symptom that I'm dealing with. A lot of times I'm taking an herb almost as a prophylactic. In other words, I'm taking the herb because I already know that I have a tendency to have this sort of thing take place. I definitely have a tendency for blood pressure issues. So instead of waiting until it's a problem and I'm at the doctor's office and they say, oh, you need to be on lisinopril, or you need to be on this medication or that medication, I'll take herbs in advance, knowing that I have a tendency towards these sort of issues to help alleviate it. So again, I'm advocating for my own self. I do value medical. They have they're phenomenal with infectious disease. They're really great with diagnostics as long as it's the correct diagnosis. Anyhow, they definitely have things that I don't have access to on my own. So I definitely need that sort of help from time to time in my life. But just because I'm seeking that help doesn't mean that I'm going to accept what they recommend that I do. So that's kind of where I tend to draw the line. I'm going to listen to them. I'm not going to throw out everything that they say entirely. There are times where I will at least look at the medication. I'll look at the side effects. I'll look at the possible benefits of it. And then I'll make my decision of whether I want to take it or not. 9 times out of 10, I do not take the medication, at least not until I go and I attempt to utilize herbs first. So if it's a situation, say I'm dealing with major blood pressure issues, which I've dealt with in my life. There was a period of time where my blood pressure was, I don't know, 175 over 100, and that's horrible. So at that situation, I didn't have the herbs on hand that would help bring my blood pressure down and help to normalize my body. So I absolutely took the medication. There comes a point where the risk of not doing something about it is greater than going ahead and taking the medication, even if it's not the cleanest product on the planet, even if there's all kinds of side effects that might go along with it. I might take the medication until I can get the herbs on hand to have a go at natural means. So a lot of times what I do if I have the herbs on hand is I'll go ahead and fill the medication just in case, and then I will utilize the herbs unless I start feeling any sort of way. Again, to use blood pressure as an example, anybody who suffers from high blood pressure knows what it's like when their blood pressure gets high and they start getting crazy feeling in the head, very disoriented, almost a dizzy sort of feeling. They're out of breath without much activity. If something like that is going on and the herbs are not remedying it, after a couple of days, I'm going to probably take the medication. I'm going to find a way to reassess the herbs that I'm using, and I'm going to start playing around with various approaches. That might mean take the herb every day and take the medication a couple of days a week. Whatever it is, I'm not going to, I typically am not going to start taking the medication as prescribed right off the bat. There are times that I do that, as I've said. There are certain situations. Let's say I was out in the woods and I got bit by a deer tick, and they offered me a 10-day round of antibiotics to eliminate the risk of having Lyme's disease. I'm absolutely going to take that. Why I have no desire for Lyme's disease. It's one of the worst things that you can end up with. I mean, it's similar to, if responding to the body, similar to the way syphilis does. So it's really hard to treat with anything. So if it's caught in the first couple of days of the bite and you have mass amounts of antibiotics, it's the research has already shown that'll take care of it. So in those sort of situations, I'm again being my own advocate. I'm making a decision. Am I against most modern medication? Yes, I am. Does that mean that I'll never use it? No, not at all, because that's not logical. If I've got something going on that is that severe, and I know that this will actually take care of it, even if it's somewhat damaging, I'm going to just go ahead and take care of it. I can deal with the damage once the initial problem has already been resolved. But again, that's advocacy. That's not just accepting what I've been told. That's going and doing my own research. That's understanding my own body and taking the time to do so, and really knowing who I am and what I am and how I function. So all of this information that I'm giving you now is basically what started me on the path that I've been on for the past 35 or so years. I wanted to know for myself. I have a hard time trusting what I'm being told, mostly because I already know that a lot of it's rubbish, even if it's not intended to be. And in order to navigate my life, I've armed myself with the information that I felt was necessary in order to navigate what my experience is. And part of that is advocating for myself. Part of that advocating is asking questions, getting as much information as possible, asking more than one person. If I get a new diagnosis, I'm not just going to rely on the doctor I'm dealing with that gave me the diagnosis. I'm going to talk to every doctor that for the next couple of years that I see and get their input on what that illness is, or what that diagnosis translates to, what the person who's got that diagnosis tends to experience, and all of those things, because you don't want to just limit it to one person's opinion. It's not valid to do that way. So again, when I'm advocating for myself, I am asking questions. I am finding out what this versus that does. I educate myself to find out the repercussions of taking medications, as well as the possible benefits of taking medications. I haven't met many doctors in my lifetime at this point in my life that I can sit down with and have a conversation about herbs versus pharmaceuticals. The doctors that I have in my environment do not have any sort of understanding of herbs to have that conversation with me. I have had a very few doctors that I've dealt with in my lifetime that will at least have the discussion with me, in as much as they know that I'm fully aware of what the natural methods are. I'm fully aware of what the herbs can do, and they'll at least allow me the discourse in comparison, them being the expert on the pharmaceutical and me being a bit of the expert on the natural method, and kind of talk things out that way. I've also utilized my pharmacist. Pharmacists are great. They deal in chemistry. So I've found that a lot of pharmacists have more information on natural compounds and herbs and those sort of things than a lot of the doctors do, because they're working from more of a chemistry background. Again, all of these things have been designed to reinforce the fact that I know my body and myself better than anybody possibly could ever do. And I'm also wanting to advocate for that so that I can continue to trust myself, and I can also have the best medical and health experience that I can possibly have. I'm going to have to deal with doctors at this point in the game. I don't know that I'll ever get to a point where I don't need a doctor ever again. I don't know that if that's reasonable or not. I don't necessarily really care. And with the way things stand at the moment, I'm going to have to see doctors. If I'm going to have to see doctors, I'm not going to have them making decisions about my health and my life for me. I'm going to be the one to do that. I'm the one that knows me. I'm the one that has to live with the results or the repercussions of any decisions that I make, or anything that I allow to happen to me. So that's why this is so important to me. I would hope that it's that important to you as well. And I hope that this is enough information to at least get you started on the right path. So until next week, stay curious, stay healthy, and stay proactive. Get out there and learn something. Have a great day.